This episode of the QA is brought to you by Lucky Shot. It is the last Monday of the month, which means it is QA time. My name is Dave Tim from the Guns and Tactics channel. Thank you guys very much for checking out this video and spending a few minutes of your day watching the QA with us. We have 9 questions on the show today, which is great. They were a variety of topics. So the best way to get your question on the show is to send us an email, theqa@gunsandtactics.com. We'll put the email address up on the screen. Shoot us an email with your question. I'll do my best to get it in the show. You can also leave comments, but we really love to have your questions emailed in. We have a new sponsor on the show, thanks to Lucky Shot. More on them in a moment, but this is the perfect glassware to have a refreshing summer beverage. As you guys can see, got the backdrop. I'm on vacation, but doesn't stop me from making the QA for you. Let's get right to it. Question number 1 is from Steven. Love the show, have a Polymer 80 Glock 34, and I seem to be hitting the extended slide stop quite frequently. Not sure if you have any tips how to grip the gun better. And basically what he's referring to is as he's gripping it with his with his thumb, which is common with Glock shooters to kind of ride that slide stop. So the easiest way is if you can adjust your grip a little bit, or there is a company making an extended raised slide stop as well, which I think is Kagworks. But they basically make a lever that comes up and over where the traditional slide stop would normally be. It's just basically raised, and those look like a cool option. I don't want to necessarily give it an endorsement or anything yet, as I don't have one, but it's on my list to check out. And got a little photo bomb here, sorry. That is Kagworks, I believe, that makes that, the extended slide stop, and I would check that out. Otherwise, you can try moving your grip just a little bit to see if you get a little bit of satisfaction with that. Otherwise, the reality is a lot of shooters just kind of roll with it, and they know that after they've shot several rounds, if the slide doesn't lock back, they perform a reload or whatever, which is kind of a slippery slope, and that's a whole nother video in and of itself. But you can try adjusting your grip, or you can try one of these other devices. Otherwise, what I've actually switched to in a lot of my guns is the Vickers slide stop, and then I can actually just feel a little bit better, so I know when I'm touching it, I can move on. So hopefully that helps. Question number 2 is from James. Have a Savage Model 10 with an internal fixed magazine. I'm looking to upgrade the stock. Will an aftermarket stock like the Modular Driven Technologies, or MDT, that accept detachable magazines need any additional parts to allow the detachable mags? No, most of those chassis will include what's called the bottom metal. If you were buying a traditional fiberglass stock and you wanted to convert that to accept magazines, you'd have to get hardware which is called bottom metal. And that basically has the mag well and the catch and the trigger guard, and it allows the magazine to work. Now, a chassis system will have the bottom metal included, so you'll be good to go. And the MDT makes really good stuff. There's going to be some other options coming out soon as well. But yeah, you should be good to go. All right, this one is from Nathan via email. I live in downtown St. Louis, and I've become more and more concerned with home security. I travel. We both have concealed carry licenses, but do not carry. Number 1, I would encourage you to do so. But his question kind of comes to knowing, what he doesn't, or not knowing what he doesn't know, which is great. Big question is, can you give any advice on what to look for in quality training classes? I'd also like to take a first aid class, but don't have an endless budget. So the easy part will be with the first aid class. Check with your local Red Cross, check with your local ambulance service, check with your only local volunteer group. A lot of times they will give you free first aid training. They may ask you to volunteer, they may not, but a lot of those will have free first aid training. And trauma, is pretty simple. Basically, you have to make sure that air is going in and out, blood going round and round, but they offer a lot of free stuff out there. And then if you want something more kind of trauma, gunshot, oriented, there are other classes out there. Basically look for someone who has some real world experience as a working paramedic, a working ER nurse, or something like that, where they actually see trauma and they can actually apply those skills and that experience to give you a good class. Now, the other part, what should you look for in a quality training class? I look for some sort of experience in what they are teaching. So for example, if I'm going specifically learning how to draw and shoot or whatever, I have no problem taking classes from an experienced and established competitive shooter because they're very good at shooting. If I want to learn, clearing techniques or low light techniques, I'm going to look for somebody with military law enforcement experience who's actually done those things. So it's okay to, make sure you're looking at what people's background are, and then check reviews, ask around, get online. The day and age of the internet, you can find reviews on anybody and ask around. Hopefully you get some good quality reviews. Sadly, people have gotten really good reviews who I think don't do good training. There's a little bit of that. And when you're a new student, you don't know what you don't know. So sadly, you might be learning something that you think is great. And then as you mature in your training career, you realize that, oh, this technique was bad or whatever. So have an open mind. Don't be committed to one such doctrine, and don't just get stuck in your way, because you may learn something in these first couple classes from instructor A, and then all of a sudden instructor B will come along and try to unteach you those things. Be open-minded, because they might be right. Who knows? But the reality is, take what you like, discard what you don't, and you can kind of go from there. So maybe I'll try to do some more training stuff in the future. It's just time, but I'll see what I can come up with for you. So that was a great question. Number 4, when it comes to suppressors, I prefer, this is from Sean, when it comes to suppressors, I prefer the compact line, Sandman K, Yankee Hill Turbo K. Do you think there's too much hype with full-size cans when it comes with suspension? I know that I cannot tell the difference when confined in a space. So that's part 1 of his question. I really love my Sandman K. Here's the thing. When shooting 223, sorry, the fire's kind of ashing here a little bit. When shooting 223, nothing's going to be quiet. The K just takes the bite off of it. It makes it kind of close to hearing safe, but it's just going to take the bite off. So don't think that anything on a 223 is going to be quiet. Even my Sandman S is still loud, but I like the maneuverability, the weight, and everything else of the Sandman K. So I think it's a great thing to take the edge off. No problems there. When it comes to barrel coatings, do you think melanite, QPQ, which is basically melanite as well, quench, polish, quench, is superior to a chrome line barrel? Same for bolt carrier group as well. So I think a quality barrel that has good quality chrome lining is just as good as a quality barrel that has good quality nitride. Are there some benefits? Yep, there are. But the reality is, a good quality barrel from a good manufacturer is going to do just fine, and you're going to be treated just fine. So I don't necessarily think one's better than the other, because I've seen really good examples of both, and I've seen really crappy examples of both. So you get what you pay for. So get a good quality barrel. A forged series from like Rainier Arms. Their forged mountain series are manufactured by FN. You can get Criterion barrels. You can get the FN lines of barrels that direct. I mean, there's a ton of really good barrels out there that have variety of coatings. It just kind of depends on what you like, but just get a good quality one. And last, do I know of anybody who makes a chrome hammer forged melanated barrel? I'd have to do some research, man. I really don't. Most people that right now are doing chrome hammer forged with like double lining, like the Noveski type lining, the double lining or 249 lining. But I'd have to do some homework. But check out Rainier Arms. Yes, they are a sponsor. I do have a relationship with them, but they don't carry junk. So if they carry something that is cold hammer forged with melanite, it's probably going to be a good source. So before we get on to question number 5, we are going to take a break and thank our sponsor, which is Lucky Shot, and they make these really cool glasses with rounds in them. So it's a great conversation piece. It's great for that bachelorette party. Or maybe you want to get something that's just unique and has a nice little spot to hang on to for a favorite summer beverage. I would highly recommend checking out Lucky Shot. They have all sorts of different size glasses, everything from shot glasses up to larger glasses, and everything features a genuine lead-free, safe round in it for that ultimate shooting enthusiast that you know, or maybe you want something for yourself. Now, we are going to give away a pint-sized glass for this episode. However, if you want something for yourself, go ahead and check out their webpage and use coupon code Guns and Tactics for 15% off your order. That's right, 15% off your order by just using coupon code Guns and Tactics by checking out their webpage, which will be linked below. Here's to you, Lucky Shot. Thank you for your support of the QA. All right, question number 5. I am in California and interested in 3-gun competition. Is what you would suggest as to set up on the rifle? So I did a setup rifle of my 3-gun rifle. I'll put a card in that, so you can check that out. But basically, I love that. I'm not sure our glorious gun laws place an additional challenge. Yes, they do. And I don't know all of the restrictions of California, so I'd highly encourage you to check out a local gun shop or something like that and ask. But I know you can get some guns that are on a roster with a 10-round mag limit, so you might just have to shoot like a limited 10, or you might have to shoot out of state and borrow some mags or something like that. But yeah, I would definitely check it out. But here's the thing. With 3-gun, just go to a match, bring what you have. People will let you borrow whatever you don't have. It's a very friendly sport. They'll help you out. They'll tell you what not to buy. They'll let you borrow, try stuff, whatever. So just get out there and go to a match. Bring some ammo, bring what you have, and go to a match. You won't regret it. All right, this one is from James. Love the show. Great tips and advice. If you were going to build a DMR rifle, what barrel length and gas system would you suggest? Right now, my kind of DMR, SPR, whatever you want to talk about, is either a 16 or an 18-inch barrel, and then depending on that, it's either a mid or rifle length gas systems. On 16s, I'm generally doing a mid-length, like my patrol rifle setup is kind of a DMR gun, and I'll put a video up there as well. Otherwise, my 18-inch, which is more of like my SPR, is a rifle length gas system, but you can get an intermediate as well. But I would say mid to rifle for 16 to 18 inch, and that's going to probably be pretty good, because once you add a muzzle device, then you add a suppressor, things can get pretty long. So I like that 16, 18 inch range, you know, for my kind of setups like that with a magnified optic. All right, this one is from Winters. Thanks for answering my May question. No problem. Thank you for submitting it. Is there any chance you can talk about how to tune a recoil spring for my pistols? Talking about a P320 X5 for competition use mostly. So with the P320, it's still relatively new. There's not a ton of accessories. However, you can get some tungsten guide rods for that, which will add a little bit of weight, but then that'll allow you to change the springs a little bit. So I would start to do some homework, find a reputable vendor for a spring, you know, recoil guide rod system or whatever, get a tungsten guide rod, and then just probably buy 3 or 4 different springs, figure out where the factory is, and then kind of buy, you know, plus or minus a little bit depending on what kind of loads you're shooting. If you know you're going to be shooting some powder puff loads that don't have a ton of recoil or whatever, and you kind of want to tune everything, you may want to try the lighter side. And if you were shooting kind of some heavier factory ammunition, you may want to try heavier. Now keep in mind, a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to put as heavy spring as I can so it absorbs all that recoil. And that sounds great on the surface, but the reality is your recoil impulse kind of has two sides of that coin, back and then forward. So yes, it may absorb a lot of the back, but all of that energy is now compressed and stored, and then it has to go back forward. So you may find a dip. And when I was tuning my 2011, it's a 6-inch gun, long slide. I found that if I had too heavy of a spring, I would see a dip when I was recovering during the recoil process. So something to keep in mind. All right, in regards to an AR-15 build, what are your thoughts of using Loctite on the barrel extension between the barrel extension and the receiver? To be clean, not on the threads, but smooth surfaces. This is from Adam. That is a great question, and I'm aware of at least 1 or 2 manufacturers that are using that. Now, what he's talking about is when you insert the barrel extension into the upper receiver, a lot of times there's a little bit of a gap. It slides right in. There's no friction. Now, other manufacturers are purposely undersizing the receiver, so you have to thermal fit, is what one big manufacturer was calling it. And it's basically something that's been known for years in armor circles, but you basically use a little bit of heat to kind of swell or open the mouth of the receiver so it can accept the extension of the barrel, and then it kind of cools down and kind of has this nice tight fit. Bravo Companies does that on their receivers. JP is kind of who I'm referring to, and they let their cat out of their bag with a video of their own, so I'm not like releasing a trade secret, even though it's not really a secret. But other companies, what they were doing is they were using a little bit of Loctite, particularly 243, which I believe is the oil resistant, and they were coating the barrel extension and then using that, almost kind of bedding the barrel into the receiver. I don't think it would hurt anything. However, you have to just keep in mind what it is. You're still keeping a barrier to prevent the dissimilar metals from bonding, which is traditionally what you'd use grease or anti-seize for, but it could definitely be an option. And actually, I'm going to be doing a build with that, and I'm going to be, you know, trying to play around with an experiment to see if it actually makes this particular build shoot, you know, better or not. So hopefully I'll make a separate video on that in the future, but great question. All right, last question for this episode. This is from Ben. I've been watching early on since the Learning Firearms channel. Good for you, man. That's been a while. So if anybody else has been watching since the old LF days, shout out in a comment. And if anyone's been watching before that, what was my channel called? What was my very first firearms related channel called? If you know the answer, shout off in the comment section below, and it'd be cool to reminisce and reconnect. But if you know, that'd be awesome to hear from you. Anyways, been putting more into customizing some of my handguns, and I'm putting together my first complete custom Glock. This one's going to be machined for an RMR. What sight configuration do you prefer for backup sights? Tritium, 3-dot, all black, etc. Putting it together on a Nomad frame. I was wondering if you come across a good holster solution. Good holster solution depends on what it's going to be for. If it's for, I thought you said for competition. Maybe I missed that. A lot of the Kydex options will give you some option leather, but you might have to heat it up because the trigger guard is not standard shape. So definitely going to need a little bit of modification or a little bit of tweaking, probably to make that work if you're going to be going the Kydex rig. Sorry, the smoke of the fire here. Perfect time for a beverage break. Man, it's like snowing over here. Anyways, so that's what I would look at. Otherwise, if you get something out of the box, it's probably not going to fit because of that trigger guard on the Nomad frame. But I do like the Nomad frame. It's pretty good. Now, back to it. Sight, it kind of depends. What I've been doing on a lot of my work guns, carry guns, I hate to duty gun, I generally run a black rear and a tritium front or a high-vis type front. I like to be able to see that front sight. As I'm kind of, my vision maturing, whatever, I'm just kind of preferring a plain black rear. However, you could certainly throw a dot, with a 2-dot rear sight on there too. But my general preference is a serrated rear or a plain black rear sight with either a tritium dot front sight, so I have some sort of low light capability in case the dot were to go down, or a fiber optic on like a competition gun in case the battery were to go dead or something. At least I could finish the stage with iron sights then, or whatever. Obviously if it's a competition gun, not as mission critical, although you pay a lot of money to go to these matches, you want to be able to finish the stage and shoot because they're not going to give you an alibi for equipment. Where if it's a carry gun, a work gun, a duty gun, or whatever, and the dot were to go down, electronics failure, whatever, you want to make sure you can still pick that up. So what to look for, right now I am running a lot of Ameriglow suppressor height sights, and I just generally like those because the width of the front sight is still easy for me to pick up with the rear. And if you're doing completely machined, which is the way to go in my opinion, versus the MOS. MOS is good, don't get me wrong. I'm going to do another video on kind of MOS versus machine slides. But because the machine slide, that sight sits a little bit lower, you have a little bit more of the rear sight exposed to find that front sight, if that makes sense. So yeah, awesome questions. We had 9 questions total. Now we're going to do our random number generator between 1 and 9, and we're going to give away a pint glass from, again, our new sponsor, Lucky Shot. So thanks to them, and remember to use that coupon code Guns and Tactics for 15% off your purchase at Lucky Shot for all their cool glassware. Random number generator, question number 2, which is from James with the Savage Model 10. So James, I'm going to shoot you an email, get your shipping address, and got a pint glass for you. Guys, the best way to get your questions on the show is to email us. We're going to put the email address down below. It is theqa@gunsandtactics.com. The show cannot survive without hearing from you. If you want to leave a comment in any one of our social media platforms, that's awesome. Please use the hashtag #TheQA or leave a comment so I can easily find it. However, the best and easiest way is to send us an email. Please send us an email, theqa@gunsandtactics.com. A little bit too much of summer drinking here, but I'm on vacation, so it's all right. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We want the channel to continue to grow. We want to make more content, do more stuff, and we can't do that without your help, so please like, share, and subscribe. And also, July is coming up. Make sure if you are going to TriggerCon, check out TriggerCon online. Make sure you register. It's going to be an awesome event. They have a range event that's open to the public. They have 2 days of the show that are open to the public, and it's going to have all your favorite vendors, plus we're going to be there. So if you see us, please stop and say hello. We love to interact with our viewers. Myself, Chris, Steve, we're going to be there covering the show. If you see us, please say hello. We want to say hi. We want to connect with you. Plus, they're going to have a really cool VIP party. Make sure you're checking out TriggerCon online. That'll do it for this episode. We will see you in future content. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.